Hello, I'm Giles Darling, and I write novels, plays and non-fiction books. In this video, I continue to show an example of how to create dozens of story ideas from a what-if moment. This follows the process outlined in my How to Create Story Ideas videos, which I include a link to below. So let's ask some more open-ended questions. Question 4. How is the Universal Basic Income, or UBI, paid out? UBI does not have to be paid out as cash or money. In some past trials, it was paid via coupons or vouchers, which could only be exchanged in a limited number of shops for particular goods. Examples include food coupons or clothing vouchers. The idea of vouchers and coupons was to prevent recipients spending all their money on undesirable vices. Your story could focus on how people with gambling, alcohol or drug addiction cope with this. When the UBI is paid as money, it's typically paid directly into people's bank accounts instead of as cash. This aims to prevent fraud. However, it could create conflict in your story. For example, what about people who don't have or can't open a bank account? Similarly, if recipients have to download an app on their smartphones to receive their UBI, how will this affect people who don't possess or can't use a smartphone? It could discriminate against the elderly in particular, or against the ability impaired. And what happens if a phone is stolen, or if someone's online identity is cloned? Question 5. Who would be eligible for UBI? What are the criteria? Deciding who is eligible to receive UBI can create conflict in your story. In my previous video, I mentioned how in the 1700s a suggested UBI scheme was only available to men. How did the women at that time feel about this? Your story could centre around this conflict. Similarly, if your story is set in the present day, you could make it more interesting by limiting who gets UBI. For example, it could be limited to those on the lowest incomes only. How do non-recipients, such as people on middle incomes, react? Should children get a child's UBI? Would the money be paid into their parents' bank accounts? Or what happens if the parents divorce? This could cause further sources of conflict and tension in your story idea. Question 6. How much should the UBI be? The level of UBI could greatly affect your story idea. If it's too low for people to live on, your story could be all about their struggle to survive, particularly if the UBI is less than the various state benefits that people used to receive before they were transferred to UBI. Is the UBI a supplement to people's regular income, or does it replace part of their wages? Could this make UBI more acceptable to employers? If the UBI is too high, recipients will soon discover that they can live comfortably without having to find a job, and people may no longer bother going to work. This is fine if your story is set in a future where robots do all the jobs. However, if your story is set in the near future, it could look at how society could survive if it grinds to a halt, with empty shelves in the shops, no postal or delivery services, no electricity or internet, for example. Question 7. What are the positive consequences of UBI? When considering the consequences of UBI, your story can look at the personal or family level, at the local or neighbourhood level, and at the societal or country-wide level. Similarly, the impact of the consequences can be short-term, medium-term, or long-term. Your story could focus on the positive consequences, such as eliminating poverty, everyone being happier, and society becoming more harmonious. However, this could make your story boring, unless UBI has actually created a veneer of conformity that covers up a rebellious undercurrent, just waiting for the right person, such as your central character, to bring about a revolution. Can you think of films or movies based on this story idea? Please feel free to add your suggestions to this video's comments below. Question 8. What are the negative consequences of UBI? it's easier to create an interesting story if it focuses on the negative, unexpected or unintended consequences of UBI. For example, what are the behavioural consequences? Various studies suggest that people are more likely to spend money that has been handed out freely, while they're more likely to save money that they have earned. Would recipients of UBI go on a spending spree and end up in greater debt than if they had never received UBI? Similarly, what are the psychological impacts of no longer having to work for a living? What are the unintended consequences on people's mental health? You can also consider the societal consequences. If UBI is rolled out to the poorest at first, how will middle-income earners react? Will they resent having to work harder to pay their increased taxes? Or will they give up work and voluntarily go into poverty in order to receive UBI? As already mentioned, there can be economic impacts too, such as no one working anymore, nothing being made, nothing getting done, and society grinding to a halt. These all offer starting points for your story ideas. Can you think of other positive or negative consequences? Please feel free to add your suggestions to this video's comments below. Thank you for watching this video. Please feel free to use any of these story ideas for your own novels, plays, screenplays or TV scripts. To see me ask even more open-ended questions, please watch my next follow-up video. Please also check out the rest of my YouTube channel, especially where I discuss the various books that I've written. I hope my channel encourages you to buy my books and to read them if you haven't already done so. Finally, please feel free to leave comments below and to like and subscribe this video and my YouTube channel. Toodle pip!